Before we begin, I want to share a resource that can make your divorce process far easier and much less stressful. It's Hello Divorce. Hello Divorce gives you a guided, step-by-step path through your divorce with clear instructions, simple online tools, and support from real legal and coaching professionals when you need it. You get help with paperwork, access to affordable legal advice, and a process that is designed to save you money, reduce conflict, and keep you informed every step of the way. They've created a special page just for Divorce and Beyond listeners. Visit hellodivorce.com/Susan to explore their plans, pricing, and resources so you can see exactly what fits your situation. If you want a clearer, calmer, more empowered way to move through your divorce, start at hellodivorce.com/Susan.
Coming up on today's episode of the Divorce and Beyond podcast.
It will never be easy. BeAligned makes it easier. It accepts the fact that there is no magic wand, there is no magic fairy dust that's going to make co-parenting perfect. How can we look at our co-parent as a human? We've gone to the balcony and there's a plethora of options, and BeAligned is going to help you create those so you're not by yourself.
Hello and welcome to the Divorce and Beyond podcast. I'm Susan Guthrie, your host. As a top divorce attorney and family law mediator for 30 years, I know what you need to know to get through your divorce and, most importantly, how to move beyond it to thrive and transition to your new future. My experts and I are here to give you the insider view into the process, so listen in for the wisdom and expert information you need on your journey through divorce and beyond.
Welcome back, listeners, to Divorce and Beyond. I'm Susan Guthrie, your host, and today's episode is a meaningful one for me because we are closing out the year by welcoming back a guest to help us open it. Trina Nudson first joined us at the beginning of the year to talk about her groundbreaking BEH2O co-parenting framework, which is a program built on decades of experience working with families navigating high-conflict divorce and co-parenting. Since then, Trina has taken that work one powerful step further. Trina is a family law attorney, mediator, guardian ad litem, child advocate, and certified divorce coach. For more than 25 years, she has worked directly in the trenches with parents, children, courts, and professionals, always with one non-negotiable mission: safeguarding childhoods. So in this episode, we're going to talk about her revolutionary BeAligned. It is a transformational AI-powered reflection platform that helps parents move out of reaction and into alignment, even when emotions are running high. This is not another communication app. It does not require both parents to participate, and it does not ask that anyone be perfect. Instead, BeAligned meets parents exactly where they are and helps them reconnect with their values, regulate emotions, and interrupt the cycle of conflict that so many families feel trapped inside. So if you've ever thought, I know what I should do, but I just can't do it in this moment, this conversation is for you. And if you believe that even one parent can change the trajectory for their children, you are going to want to listen all the way through this very important episode. So let's dive in. Trina, it is so lovely to have you back. We are bookending 2025 with you. You first joined us in January, and now you're back for one of our last episodes of December. And, you know, it's a perfect bookend to the year because we started the conversation about your wonderful program, BEH2O, which integrates both the neuroscience and mindset coaching into co-parenting. And now you've taken it a step further. I'm really excited to share what you've been doing over the year with everyone. And thank you so much for coming to join us.
Thank you so much, Susan, for having me back.
Well, let's just, rip the Band-Aid off and tell everyone the exciting news. And my listeners know in my real life, I'm a tech fiend. I love technology and how it supports us in all things. And that's what you've done. You have taken your wonderful program, your decades of work in the field with co-parents and supporting co-parents, and you have created a technology called BeAligned that I think is truly revolutionary and is the only one of its kind. And so we're here today to talk about that. And I'll mention we're in the holiday season. You have a special gift for everyone when we get to the end. But let's just first, what is BeAligned?
Well, Susan, I wouldn't even have known what AI was unless this amazing woman, I think her name is Susan Guthrie, introduced it to me maybe almost 2 years ago. I absolutely fell in love with AI, Susan. Now my AI's name is FLO. I had just worked with a co-parenting pair through BEH2O from the negotiation from the Y, which is during our week 8. And I was curious and I was like, if I put mom's I feel statement and dad's I feel statement into Flow, what might actually happen? Well, Flo was very well versed in BEH2O because she helped me create the second version manual, the facilitator manual. And I put it in there. And within 30 seconds, it had went through all 7 steps of the negotiation process and ended up with the same agreement that it took an hour and a half for these parents to reach in my office. And at that point, I was like, whoa, I cannot keep this to myself. And so with that, I began incorporating the negotiation from the Y into AI. I started to train it based on my curriculum and created guardrails, to which point I now have a platform called BeAligned that we launched in October.
And it's, it is truly revolutionary because nobody else is doing this. Now, what I want to talk about, there are a lot of co-parenting apps out there and we're fans, right? There's Our Family Wizard, which is the OG, right? They've been around forever. It has, a wonderful place, has really revolutionized in its own way, co-parenting communication. But that's not what this is. That's not how BeAligned is helping and supporting parents. In fact, it comes at it from a completely different perspective. So let's talk about that because first off, BeAligned right now, you don't need both parents to work with it. Isn't that correct?
You only need one parent. I firmly believe that it only takes one to shift the dynamic. And so, yes, right now you only need one user. In the spring of 2026, we will actually be introducing a collaboration model, and I can get into that. But you are correct, Susan. BeAligned is not a communication app. It is more of a transformational app. So most apps provide a tool, right? A tool to communicate, where BeAligned provides the opportunity to shift your mindset. I'd like to describe many as a crutch. BeAligned is scaffolding. It really helps you step out of your own skin and really look at the full picture. So when you go into an app like Our Family Wizard, again, love Our Family Wizard, but when we go into these apps, we are human. How dare we be human? How dare we feel upset, enraged, scared, like we're being judged, shamed, blamed? I can't take that away from parents, Susan. That is real. That is absolutely real. And it is imperative that we stop trying to deny it. If we are scared or anxious or disappointed, we've got to own it. And what do we need? What do we need to actually resolve that? What are we looking for? Safety, consistency, peace. And dare I say, our co-parent, they might be human too. We don't have to agree with them. We may not feel like we're ready to empathize with them, and that's okay. I call it strategic empathy, right? We don't have to empathize with them to understand and agree, but we need the bigger picture. Then our children have feelings too, and they have needs. So BeAligned allows us to step out to the balcony. I'll use William Ury's phrase, to step out to the balcony and see the big picture. And then it allows us to build the golden bridge, which is really based on everyone's whys. And then BeAligned helps create proposed solutions. That could be a message to our co-parent. That could be a mantra to ourselves, a script to share with our child. And it is a space where we could just be human, be real, and learn from that.
Well, and what you're pointing out that I think is so important for people to hear, co-parenting, hey, it's hard when your marriage is intact, when you're in a relationship that's going along just fine. But then, if there is a set of parents out there in the world that never disagree and always agree on everything about raising their children, I haven't met them yet. I don't know if you have. But,
without me teaching BEH2O or building BeAligned, I have no clue how I'd be married for 23 years, Susan. My husband and I do not agree on a lot of things.
And that's normal, right? That's normal. So then you put this into a divorce situation or a separation situation or co-parenting situation, and which is fraught with emotion as it is. And you often find that there's a lot of disagreement. There's a lot of not seeing things the same way. And what the app does is meets people where they are. It doesn't try to change them from being who they are or feeling how they feel. It tries to help them find the ways to still co-parent in that space. And I think that's really important for people to understand. There's no shame, there's no blame, there's no you're doing this wrong or they're doing this wrong. I want to point that out. I mean, it's not going to reaffirm, oh, you're the perfect parent and they're a horrible parent either, but it's not going to vice versa that either.
That's the difference between it's triggering for me, Susan, when people say, oh, it's another chatbot, because it is not another chatbot. I have gone through great lengths to train it. So if you're wanting to step in and just have it agree with you, it's not going to agree with you. It's actually going to challenge you. So it's going to, yes, help you feel seen. What are your feelings? They truly do matter. What is your why? But it's going to say, I know this is going to be really, really hard, but what might your co-parent be feeling? And then if you can't name it, it guides you to help you think, okay, not to agree with them, but really, what might they be feeling and what might they need? What might they be looking for? One of the things, I know you recently had Bill Eddy on the show, and I love me some Bill Eddy. Hi, Bill. He utilizes BIF, where I utilize something different. It's called Clear. And one of the big differences in Clear and BIF is the listener ready aspect of Clear. And so if we look at our brain, Daniel Siegel describes it as the hand model of the brain, right? The upper part of our hand is the upstairs brain or our prefrontal cortex. The bottom half is our amygdala, our early brain or our reactive brain. And what happens is when we speak to someone else, so we're going to speak to our co-parent, if they feel shame, blamed, or judged, We're inviting a conversation with the baboon or a reptile, right? So we have a choice, but we're also human too. And so once we feel seen, we can go into BeAligned. We could be like, yeah, I am pissed off. I can't even believe this, right? We're not trying to hide. The courts aren't going to jump into BeAligned. We have certificates of reflection. So you can print off a certificate that says how long you've been into BeAligned, but there's not going to be another third party coming in to BeAligned to evaluate how you're performing. I'm very, very, very much opposed to that because we can be real. This is our space to be real and learn from those feelings and then utilize that. Now we feel seen. Now we're going to craft a message that helps our co-parent not feel shame, blamed, or judgment. So we can start conversing with a more rational human, not a baboon.
So you're actually helping one of the parents, as you pointed out. Only one of these parents needs to be using this, but you're helping them to be able to find a way to communicate with their co-parent in a way that the co-parent can hear what they're saying, as opposed to the explosion conversation where that especially blame or you should do this, where you're shooting on them or all of those things where immediately they shut down and you're just going into conflict. And that's a very familiar cycle for probably most of the co-parents who are listening to this episode. That conflict cycle becomes an ever repeating thing. You have one explosive conversation. What are the chances your next conversation is going to be similar? And so on and so on. And so one of the things the app does so successfully, I think, is interrupts the cycle and teaches different ways that are successful. You kind of learn from success.
And I think what you just said is the pattern continues, right? It becomes a cycle. And we can go to a parenting class. We can go try to learn these behaviors, but we aren't able to actually perform these behaviors in the moment. Why? Because we're in our baboon brain, not because we're bad, but because we're human. So yes, we're learning to communicate with our co-parent. But most importantly, before we can do that, we have to learn to communicate with ourselves so we can actually see ourselves and not create our own biggest fears.
Well, and let's focus right there on what you were saying, because I really think that's something that parents will need, is really the differentiator here, because most of the parents who are listening, if they're going through a divorce or a separation, are going to have to take some sort of a parenting education or co-parenting education course. Almost all states have some sort of educational program that parents must take if they have children and are going through a legal process around the care and custody of their children. But as you're pointing out, you go to those, you're there for a certain number of hours, they teach skills, and then you go off into the world and you're supposed to be able to apply those skills immediately, perfectly, and it's going to change everything. And the reality is those things go flying right out of your head when you get caught up in some sort of, conflictual conversation with your co-parent. If you can even remember one of those things you're doing well, putting it into practice is almost impossible. The difference here is you always have your little phone, your little friend in your pocket, your little BeAligned, and you can pull it out in that moment and actually start changing that cycle, finding those tools. And maybe it would be helpful if you sort of walked through what it looks like to interact as a co-parent with BeAligned. We're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, Trina walks us through a real-world co-parenting scenario and shows exactly how BeAligned helps to interrupt the conflict cycle in the moment, when emotions are high and clarity is hard to find. If you've ever known what you should say or do, but couldn't get there in real time, you're going to want to hear this part. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Listeners, As a bit of a product junkie myself, I am so excited to announce that we have partnered with Blue Mercury, which is your one-stop destination for luxury skincare, makeup, hair care, fragrance, and more, all thoughtfully curated and backed by their expert service. And because you are listening today, Blue Mercury is offering 15% off your first order when you use the special link in our show notes. It's their way of saying thanks for being a part of the Divorce and Beyond family. So just click the link in the show notes, shop your favorites, and enjoy the 15% discount that will be automatically applied to that first purchase. That's 15% off your first order at bluemercury.com. Check your show notes to claim it now.
So I am really, absolutely, entirely anxious about the fact that my 8 and 10-year-old little girls, they're going to have an exchange on Christmas Eve. They're going to have to leave my side, and they're going to have to go to their dads, who they don't even want to see their dad. And they're going to have to go to him. And how am I'm going to ruin their Christmas is going to be ruined because of all of this. I don't even know what to do with all this. So I go into BeAligned and I say that very thing. I don't know what to do. I am so scared. My kids are going to be, beside themselves. They're going to be screaming at 10 p.m. on Christmas Eve. What do I do? And then BeAligned is going to say, okay, there's a lot there. Let's talk about how you're feeling. And then it's going to help you take a deep dive in. I'm anxious. I'm fearful. I'm scared. Okay, what is it that you ultimately want to achieve? I want my girls to have a happy holiday. I don't want them to have to change at 10 p.m. at night. I want them to actually be able to experience a full extended holiday. Okay, I know this is going to be really hard, BeAligned will say, but now I need you to step in the shoes of your co-parent. How might your co-parent be feeling? Oh, he's going to blame me as being controlling, and the girls won't want to spend time with me on Christmas because it's all with him on Christmas because it's all of her fault. She's alienating. Okay. I respect that you feel that way. Is there something more potentially? It will get her to a place where she may be able to say, he's probably a little bit scared because he wants to connect with the kids on Christmas too. And he wants the kids to have a good Christmas. Then it will transition this, Mom, to let's talk about your girls. How are your girls feeling? What do your girls need? And then what BeAligned will do is say, with all of this, do you have any ideas? And then this mom, she might say, maybe we should do the exchange either before Christmas Eve or maybe after Christmas Eve. Or maybe she'll say, I don't have any ideas. And then what BeAligned will do is it will take everyone's why and might propose maybe you exchange earlier on Christmas Eve, or maybe you exchange at school release. And then he keeps the kids until the day after Christmas. Maybe you start to play it up with the girls in a positive way and start to say something more positive, or maybe we create a mantra for you so that you can be more grounded to show calm and peace for your girls. Do any of these sound like a possible option? And then you will say as the mom, either yes, I like this, or no, none of these work. And then it will iterate with you. So at the end of the conversation, you can leave with a mantra or a script to tell your girls, or a message that you can cut and paste to send to your co-parent. Or it could actually go into deep think, which is a 48-hour pause where it comes back to me, in which I help create and train the AI, and ultimately other options.
That, I think, is the revolutionary part of this, right? It has taken that parent, that mother, and by the way, your acting skills are superlative, Oscar worthy, because that is you and I both. We've been, in this field supporting parents through divorce. That is the panic and the fear and the feeling that so many parents are feeling as it comes. And it's rooted in wanting the best for their children, but it gets lost in the fear and the panic. And what the app is doing is really helping that parent problem solve and come up with options to make things work better, as you just said, for the children. And comes up with different ways, and then comes up with actionable steps that parent can take that change the paradigm from a freak out, I'll call it, right? Just lost in the fear, lost in the emotion, to actionable steps, things that might happen. And that over time takes what we were talking about a few minutes ago of that cycle of conflict that just escalates and escalates. And now every conversation's a conflictual conversation because that's how they always go, into a different style of communication, a different format for how these two parents are going to communicate. And I want to emphasize that it's changing because one of the parents is changing. That's how much power you have when you can change.
It's an upstream solution. Everything else out there that I have seen is unfortunately putting a Band-Aid on things. And we're addressing the issue because it's a problem. Well, this is something we can do on our own, in our own space, without someone looking over our shoulder. It's real. And Susan, I used to be that attorney, that GAL that would shame and blame that mom. Like, how dare you act that way? If you act that way, your kids are, of course, are going to act that way. If you're anxious, your kids are going to be anxious. However, once I started to see that mom and understand how she was feeling and help her see herself, it was transformational. And then when Susan Guthrie, yourself, introduced me to the gift of AI, how could I not scale the impact of a program that I had seen so transformational? It would be a disservice to the world. And by the way, the universe wouldn't shut up. It just kept whispering to me that I had to do this. I said, I am not tech savvy. The universe really didn't care. It just kept getting louder and louder. And that's how someone that didn't even know what SaaS was in November of 2024 can create a whole platform in a matter of a year.
Well, and it is truly incredible what you've been able to create with BeAligned in a year. I mean, it's actually, when I say incredible, it truly is. AI has taken us to a place where we can do something like this at a faster pace, but your core skill and experience from your many, many years in your very successful BEH2O program that you've built out of your years of experience of working with parents in a variety of different ways, right? You've held many roles. You just mentioned guardian ad litem. You've done evaluations. You've represented parents. You've represented children. You've done all different kinds of service to these families. And all of that has now gone into making this technology that can change the entire trajectory for a family with only one person using it. And imagine, I know you're coming out with the version that will be collaborative and both parents can use it. And that's fantastic. One parent, we talk about this a lot on the podcast, the power of one.
And even when it goes to the 2-person model, I still am taking the one parent by themselves because mom will not be communicating with dad. BeAligned will be William Ury's third side. It will, which then allows us to truly, the users, to be at their best, because they decided together, we're not the best. Apart, we are better. So it respects that and leans into it rather than fights it.
Which is refreshing, I think, for the families. It's allowing these parents to work through the very real issues, very common issues. I mean, you just were talking because we're at this time of year about the holidays, but there's so many day-to-day interactions that can cause conflict for parents, that can take them off the road of co-parenting collaboratively and smoothly. That all trickles down to their children, always. We've all heard the parents saying, oh, the kids don't know. And we all know. I know every professional I ever say that to, laughs or has that response, because we know the children always know. That's the power that you have here in this app. And I want to emphasize for people, because something you just said may have given them the idea. This is not a mediator. This is not an app that's going to mediate some solution for them.
No, it's not a mediator. It transforms your mindset. And so when it goes into the collaborator model, we're not really creating a compromise. We're creating, where can these two parties align? Where are their agreements in that regard? But going back to what you said, Susan, is, we have disagreements every day. Today, I'm talking about Christmas Eve, but let's talk about potty training. Let's talk about them getting their driver's license. Homecoming pictures. Today, I'm going to give you a parenting plan. I'm a guardian ad litem. Yay, we reached an agreement. Woo! We have a signed, agreed parenting plan. Success. Whether it's a 15-page parenting plan or a 46-page parenting plan, it is a piece of paper. And we have to live it. We have to breathe it. And we're human. We're being asked to parent with someone that we can't live with anymore. Oh, it will never be easy. BeAligned makes it easier. It accepts the fact that there is no magic wand, there is no magic fairy dust that's going to make co-parenting perfect. There isn't perfection. So how can we see ourselves? How can we begin to embody the values we wish to instill in our children? How can we look at our co-parent as a human, not as a problem, but as a human, so that we're not talking to a baboon? And how can we really appreciate how our kids are feeling? What are their needs? Now, we are out of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And we've gone to the balcony, and there's a plethora of options. And BeAligned is going to help you create those, so you're not by yourself. And you're not being judged by the court. And you're not being judged it's not trying to take away your coach. It's not trying to take away your therapist. It's not trying to take away your attorney. But they're not there to be in the tornado and pull you out of the tornado. It allows you to go to those places grounded in your values, so you get the best use out of those professionals.
Which is another, factor for people. This is not replacing your professionals. This is a very different role. I will say to you, in my other world, I do a lot of marketing with professionals, and this line that you just said, co-parenting will never be easy. BeAligned makes it easier. That is a great tagline for BeAligned. You might want to put that down somewhere. And I think that's a significant factor for people to understand here, is that this is going to be something that internally within their new family, we always talk about restructuring your family, within that new family structure is going to help you forge new ways to co-parent. It's not going to be doing things the same way that you've always done them. It's helping you find acceptable ways to co-parent in new ways. And you also mentioned something about court, and I do want to mention for people, because there will be people who will say, I'm afraid to use something like this because if I put all of this information into this app, won't my ex subpoena it or ask for this information when we're in the midst of a custody battle in court? And, there are safeguards around that. And there are, you have a wonderful certificate situation or program that you can give to show so that people can show that they're making the effort without revealing their private information.
So I've been in this field for nearly 25 years, and I knew that the court was going to want proof. But I also knew if professionals or third parties had the ability to sign in to these reflections, that it would undermine its purpose. So that's where I created the certificate of reflection. So on your dashboard, when you go in to BeAligned, you can request a certificate of reflection. How long have I reflected in the past 7 days, in the past 30 days, in the past 90 days, whatever period of time, and you can create a proof of reflection. There's also the ability, all of your reflections are anonymized. So I don't know who actually is doing it because it's really just numbers in a system is all that it really is, because we want it to protect the privacy. There is opportunities for you to ask for founder sound bites. So if you have a question for me, you just type it in on Fridays. I release founder sound bites, which are 2 to 3 minutes, answering your questions. We have BEH2O coaches who will give you a free walkthrough of BeAligned. It's called your first free win. It's a 15-minute walkthrough that BEH2O coaches offer you. We have a BeAligned community. You don't have to do this alone. There are other people that are walking that same journey. And one thing that I've learned most in running BEH2O is the community aspect. And so the ability to share what you're learning on BeAligned reinforces the likelihood of you actually living out those behaviors. So the BeAligned community allows you to share your why within the community. So it reinforces you being grounded in your why.
And there we have the magic. I'm going to call it the magic, but this is really, I wanted to emphasize for the listeners that the app may be new, but the program that underlies the app, which is your BEH2O, is an incredibly successful program that has been helpful to many, many, many parents over a period of years that you've been developing through your many decades of practice in all of the different roles that you've held. And that's what underpins all of what's happening within the app. It's taken the structure of what you do in that program and brought it and made it available to people through the magic of AI in certain ways, and frankly, through your brilliance of in creating BEH2O.
So it takes what I've built since 2014 in BEH2O, and it allows us to scale that impact. Yes, it would be tremendously much more helpful to this world if everyone went through the 16-week BEH2O curriculum, but that's not possible. And so what could I do to give scaffolding to people to be able to experience the power of BEH2O the best that they could without going through the 16-week curriculum? And I knew in order to do that, I needed to offer a space for people to see themselves, to begin to see others. Because once we can do that, we could truly step out of our own skin and stop creating our own biggest fears and become creative to create solutions that support our why, our values, not undermine them.
Yeah, so very important. And, one of the things that I am most excited about this and really speaks to your, I just want to point out to everyone, you have done all of this on your own dime. You have done all of the work of putting this together. You have taken your decades of research and work and belief in BEH2O and poured it into creating this because you truly want to create something that is going to help change co-parenting and change the experience of children in the families where co-parents are struggling. And so one of the things that you're doing is you have a special offer, a special gift for Divorce and Beyond listeners. Maybe you could share a little bit about what your offer is.
Well, I would like you to be able to experience the gift of BEH2O through BeAligned. So I am giving your children the gift of you having 90 days free on BeAligned. I don't want your credit cards. I don't want anything. I just want you to type in the code BEYOND. And if you experience what I believe you'll experience, I want you to be able to share that gift with others as well. I also want your feedback, because what I have learned over the past 25 years is what I've learned from parents and children that I've worked with, because they've been open enough to share their experiences with me. So the only thing that I ask is there are feedback questions on there. If you could complete them throughout your reflection journey, you're only helping me to improve this platform so that we can help safeguard more childhoods. I can't do this alone. I am inviting you to not only safeguard your children's childhoods, but asking you to help me help others safeguard their children's childhoods as well.
This is a truly wonderful opportunity. Those 90 days can be the catalyst for an incredible change. And you have seen that time and time again as you have worked with BEH2O and families. You know that BeAligned is going to make those changes for people. So giving people 90 days of access, listeners, I want you to take advantage of this opportunity. It only takes you to use this.
And Susan, I want to reinforce why I chose 90 days. It takes 66 days to form a habit. So it is not going to be poof, right? We're there. It's going to take time for you to remind yourself to get in to BeAligned. So I truly wanted the users to experience the transformational value of that. And I really feel like the best opportunity to do that is to give it those 90 days.
So it takes a commitment from the user, but that's the beauty again of how this works is as you start to use it, as it starts to change your communication, change how you're approaching these situations, you will start to see positive results, and that continues to feed on itself. So instead of the conflict cycle, you will start to build a different communication cycle, and it will change everything for you, but most importantly, as you just said, Trina, for your children. And that's really, I know, at the core of why you do what you do. And you've worked so hard to protect children's childhoods throughout your career. What's the best way for people to find BeAligned and also BEH2O? Because we may have listeners. I will put the link, of course, to the original BEH2O episode in the show notes, but we may have listeners who are interested in the coaching program as well.
So you can go to BeAligned app. So BeAligned.app. There is a link to BEH2O on that. When you use the Beyond code, you will have a full 90 days access. With that 90 days access, you could ask for a free one, which is a 15-minute walkthrough with a BEH2O certified coach. So they can take you through the BeAligned app and show you how it ultimately works. When you go to BeAligned app it is built on BEH2O. So it gives you a little bit of background of what BEH2O is, but you can have access to the BEH2O co-parenting page as well that explains that program.
Trina, on behalf of my listeners, I'm very grateful for this opportunity that you are providing to them and to what you have created here, because this has been, I've been walking along watching you create this over this past year, and the amount of work and time and love that you have poured into this is, something that you just don't see people do this anymore. This is truly a game changer for people, and I appreciate it on their behalf. I'm so delighted that you're making this available to our listeners and that you joined us today. You are going to change and protect children's childhoods with this, and I thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, Susan.
Listeners, I will have everything in the show notes, and stick around for the Golden Nuggets Roundup. All right, everyone. Before we wrap up, there is a lot to unpack in that episode. So let's pull together a few golden nuggets from Trina's wisdom that I really want you to take with you. Golden nugget number 1, very important. It only takes one parent to shift the dynamic. Real change does not require both parents to be on the same page. When one parent learns how to regulate emotions, reconnect with values, and communicate from a grounded place, the entire system begins to change. That is power, not weakness. Golden nugget number 2. Co-parenting is not about perfection. It is about awareness. You are human. Fear, anxiety, anger, and grief are real. BeAligned does not deny those emotions. It creates space to acknowledge them, learn from them, and respond intentionally instead of reacting impulsively. Golden nugget number 3, most conflict is fueled by dysregulation, not bad intentions. When people feel blamed or judged or shamed, they cannot hear each other. By helping parents regulate first and communicate second, BeAligned interrupts the conflict cycle and opens the door to real problem solving. And golden nugget number 4, co-parenting will never be easy, but it can be easier. There is no magic wand and no perfect parenting plan. What makes the difference is having tools that support you in real time, in real moments when it matters most for your children. That is where alignment lives, and that's where change begins. So take those golden nuggets with you as you round out 2025 and get ready to move into 2026, whether you are going into divorce, you are moving through divorce, or if you are in your beautiful beyond.
Thank you for joining me today on the Divorce and Beyond podcast. I hope you found some information and inspiration to help you on this journey. Please join me every Monday at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for a new episode. And if you like the show, please take the time to subscribe and leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. You can also find more information on the website at divorceandbeyondpod.com, where you'll find links to the YouTube channel, transcripts of the episodes, and other bonus content. So I'll see you next week to help you move through your divorce and beyond.